Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the afternoon breakout sessions for the Puna Strong Virtual Resource Fair. This afternoon, we do have Denby Tosi, who is from Child and Family Services, and she'll be presenting in our track for human trafficking and domestic violence. So I will turn this over to Denby to kind of introduce herself and get right into her presentation. Denby.
Aloha and mahalo. Thank you so much for the invite. And aloha to Puna Strong, the Puna Strong community. So, hi, my name is Denby Tosi, coming to you live from Child and Family Service. Wanted to talk to you about our programs that we have to support families who are involved with domestic violence, and also to highlight some of our new programs to support families for sexual exploitation for children and for domestic violence support services. So mahalo. I'm Denby Tosi. I've been servicing the community in this capacity since 2004 with Child and Family Service. I have raised children in violence, not by choice, but it was a situation that I had to endure until an opportunity came where I felt strong enough to, turn my husband in for abuse. And that helped me to set the stage to move forward, to provide, emotional support for my children, and to set the pace of finding safety, seeking safety and support services. And one of the places that I went for help was Child and Family Service. So I'm grateful now that today I can say that CFS have helped me through my journey and has helped a lot of families through their own journeys too as well. So to get started, I wanted to share and highlight the services that we have to support families. And let me pull up my screen. And here we go. We have programs to help families heal from trauma. And we have services here on the Big Island, East and West Hawaii. We have an office in Kahalaiki Ola, in Kona. So one of the first service I want to highlight was Alternatives to Violence. We call it ATV. And this is the program that we do temporary restraining orders. So it offers a full spectrum of service, which includes TRO preparation, court advocacy, TRO support groups for men and women in the intervention and prevention of domestic violence. ATV also has a component which receives referrals from juvenile probation for a youth anger management program. And referrals are received from the judiciary, CWS, BCM, and the self-referrals are welcomed. So more on the youth. We have services once a week, support groups to help children or youths, teens that have anger problems and need help managing their emotions. So that's a really good service for youths. Regarding the TRO, further information, we're open Monday through Fridays, 8 to 1 p.m. to help families with filing temporary restraining orders. We have advocates here. It's a walking process, or they can call in to schedule an appointment. And between 8 o'clock and 1 p.m., that's the time best to come and file so that their TRO orders can be submitted to the courthouse. And hopefully, and usually by the end of the day, the working day, the restraining order may be ready to pick up. And that's when you be able to receive your copy of the order and a hearing date. Moving on to the next service that we have is domestic abuse shelters. So both East and West Hawaii, we have domestic abuse shelters that shelters victims and children of domestic violence. And I wanted to include that this is and can be a co-ed facility where we know that males too are also victims of domestic violence, and they can utilize our services too at the shelter. So the shelter is a safe haven for families fleeing from domestic violence. The shelter offers domestic violence crisis hotline, lodging, food, crisis counseling, individual counseling, and information and referral and advocacy. So both East and West Hawaii We're open 24 hours. It's a residential facility. We will not disclose the location unless necessary, only to the ones that are to be utilizing the service. Our next program is the Domestic Violence Advocacy Service. We have a lot of acronyms in our agency, and this one is called the DVA. Domestic Violence Advocacy Service are designed to provide a range of supportive service to help individuals involved in domestic violence situations to become self-sufficient. Participants are referred to DVA service by their Department of Human Service eligibility worker. So if someone is in domestic violence and they're on welfare, receiving welfare benefits, this program will be for them. So in order to receive your welfare benefits, you have to meet the first to work requirements, like volunteering at places in order to receive your benefits. Now, because domestic violence may be interrupting your ability to do your first to work requirements, this program will be perfect for that individual. This program can stop the welfare clock from ticking for at least 6 months. It also can bring back 20% of income into the person's monthly finances for 6 months. And that 6 months is the month that they will be working with an advocate. If for the first 6 months, the victim still needs support service, is no longer with the abuser, she or he could qualify for an additional 6 months of services. So that's the DVA. The Domestic Violence Service for Families. So now this one is a special service because you don't often see services that service the whole family. Well, in this program focuses on providing services to those who are in an abusive, intimate partner relationship. We provide psychoeducation, support, and for families experience domestic violence. So with this program, the referral source comes from the differential response of child welfare, whether it's CWS, BCM, Volunteer Case Management, or FSS, Family Strengthening Service Case Management. So the whole family is referred to this program. We have the identified victim, the identified batterer, and the children. So each subgroup will receive their own individual service. And if there is a need to move forward, we are able to do counseling if it's safe. Counseling for the couple if it's safe. Counseling for the children and the parent if it's safe and ready to go in that direction. So the basis of this program is just to enhance the life and the quality of life of families, and hopefully that we could provide that extra support so families can do better and be better. The next component of service we have for families is our sex abuse treatment service, SATS. It provides individual, parent, child, and family therapy. So services also include offender treatment. So in this particular program, we're servicing families of intrafamilial sex abuse. Yes, I said it. Intrafamilial sex abuse in the family. So not oftentimes, you don't want to hear this, but it happens. Yeah, sex abuse do happen in the family, whether it's parent on child, an uncle, an auntie, sibling on sibling. But our program also support these families in this capacity. So we have the offender being referred, the non-offending caregiver, the child victim, and the siblings who are at risk also get educated about sexual abuse and prevention. So this supportive service is mandated with child welfare service. So when CWS steps into a family because of intrafamilial sex abuse, the whole family gets the treatment. The goal is reunification, but in order for reunification to occur, each family member, each subcomponent of the family needs to get the treatment. Unfortunately, the component that we have difficulty serving is the offender population. One of the hugest problem there is because of denial. They're denying denying to take the responsibility that sexual abuse occurred, and or the fear of them being getting criminalized for it. In this capacity of service, child welfare is under a civil type of treatment where we're about treatment and not prosecution, although we can help with the prosecution in collaboration of a criminal report. The next service is Transitional Housing Program, TAP housing. This is specific for survivors and their children of domestic violence who are homeless or fleeing a DV, domestic violence situation. So this program service has several units to provide housing for these family and children. And while in this program, they'll be able to have support service to increase their ability to be self-sufficient and to have resources to help build upon their capacity of being resilient. Yeah. So these are the services that Child and Family Service offer for families who are exposed to domestic violence. One of the things I wanted to say also is that if you have families that are in need of help, they're having difficulty in coming forward for the help, you yourself can call. You can call our 935-2188 telephone office line or the domestic abuse shelter 959-8864. These telephone numbers are important to gather the information that you need to empower yourself to know how to help others and to seek the support services that you may need for someone else, if not for you. So thank you for that. And now I wanted to move into maybe asking questions, answering questions if you have, or if you have a dialogue you want to convey. I also put up some of the questions earlier about what to think about, when we come into this forum. And one of the questions I would ask you, do you know enough about domestic violence? Or what can I do to stop domestic violence? Or what does my community needs to combat domestic violence? And these are like discussion forums that we could have maybe later in the chat. Or if you have other questions that you may have, you can ask. If there's no other questions or no questions at all, we can move forward. There's two programs I would like to highlight during this hour. And these programs are really important in servicing the population of human trafficking and exploitation. So Child and Family Service, we embraced Hope and Healing. That's the name of the service and the program. And Hope and Healing will provide supportive service for those who were in sexual abuse or are at risk of sexual exploitation. So this is my PowerPoint, and I'll just read through the slideshow from the beginning. Here we go. It's an Ohana style approach in providing sex abuse counseling and supportive services. The why? Well, Child and Family Service has been serving Hawaii's community since 1899. Yes, 1899. In 2018 to 2019, we touched the lives of 87,626 individuals in the state of Hawaii. Catholic Charities Hawaii has been serving safe families since 1947, and in the fiscal year 2018 to 2019, they touched the lives of 40,000 individuals in the state of Hawaii. Ho'olanapua has been serving families since 2013, and in the fiscal year 2018 to 2019, they touched the lives of 7,000 youths. So a total of 134,646 individuals. So CFS, Catholic Charities, and Ho'olanapua have over 80 years of experience working with survivors of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sex trafficking. we found there were no service providers integrating sexual abuse services with sex trafficking prevention intervention services, as these services are still being siloed. So the national data is that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are victims of sexual abuse each year. Most child victims are abused by someone they know and trust. And results of a 3-state study of reported rape survivors under age 12 revealed 96% of offenders were known to their victims. On average, 75% of child pornography victims are living at the home when they are photographed or videotaped, to which parents are often responsible. And 90% of children who fall victim to commercial sexual exploitation of children were first sexually abused in commercial situations, meaning child sexual abuse predispose children to being victims of child sex exploitation. Evidence shows a direct correlation between early onset of sexual abuse and the higher risk of sexual exploitation or becoming victimized by sex trafficking. And this is our findings of our data. So the total number of sexual abuse victims and families served between the years of 2016, 2017 to current. Hope and Healing launched in 2018, and the first referral accepted in December of 2018, and we're currently serving 6 families and counting. Service delivery. Anyone can refer to the program. The program will accept any survivor of sexual abuse between the ages of 4 and 17. We will work with the survivor, their siblings, and their non-offending members of their family. Our staff will call the family within 48 hours, and within 10 days, an assessment and screening will be completed. Any suspected confirmed commercial sexual exploitation screen shall be reported to the Department of Human Service hotline. And the concurrent service plan shall be developed across agencies within 10 days of the assessment. And we're in collaboration with Huala Napua for mentorship. So this is the history of running away or getting kicked out 4 times, in addition to a history of sexual abuse. So these are the indicators, of children exploitation, like the red flags. They have current incidents of history of inappropriate sexual behaviors, not limited to prostitution, and the youth acknowledgement of being trafficked. The child has no personal items or possessions, including identity documents and foreign-born labor tracking, because it's all held by the trafficker. Child is not allowed or unable to speak for himself or herself and may be extremely fearful. Child appears to have material items that he or she cannot afford, like the cell phones and expensive clothing and a tablet. Child has no knowledge about the community he or she is located in. Child shows signs of being groomed. That is to say, the hair is done, the nails is done, new clothing, etc. That the child cannot justify how they paid for it. Suspicious tattoo or other signs of branding. Child associates and or has relationship with age inappropriate friends, boyfriends and or girlfriends. Child known to associate with confirmed or suspected commercial sexual exploitation. Excuse me. Child is recovered from runaway episode in a hotel or known area of prostitution. Child has inappropriate sexual suggestive activity on social media, websites, and or chat apps. And report of human trafficking by parent, guardian, law enforcement, medical or service provider, teacher, child protective service, and other juvenile probation officer. So going back into this, you may have heard locally of certain things going on, maybe like a hotel holding up some of these youths hanging out together, maybe Coconut Island, Banyan Drive. So we are seeing and hearing, and there are a task force that is looking into these reports. And task force to help combat our community with trafficking. Service delivery continued. So we have can and provide individual counseling, family counseling, group counseling, mentoring, family service and support of trafficking. Safety planning is key to work with these victims. Collaborative and integrative treatment team meetings, and to work towards discharge and aftercare plan with the youth. It's really important to know that our community is really highlighting this sex trafficking and exploitation of our youth, and that we are really on the lookout of these type of behaviors. Survivor Center Focused Service. So we're focused on developing a perception of safety. It is not enough for the victim to be physically removed from the offender for a perception of safety to occur. Developing a sense of empowerment through disposition of feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, and developing an internalized locus of control. Identifying and expressing feelings about themselves and others, especially feelings of anger, guilt, and self-blame, worthlessness and low self-esteem, depression, isolation, and, quote, being damaged goods. So that's why the counseling and the therapy is very important. Gaining and understanding that the abuse was not their fault and that total responsibility lies with the offender. Gaining an accurate understanding of sexual development and healthy sexual relations. Enhancing a positive self-image and developing more productive social interaction by becoming more assertive, communicating more effectively, understanding the impact of trauma of their abuse behavior, including an impulsive or acting out behaviors, understanding and respecting boundaries, their own and others, and understanding age-appropriate roles, and learning other social skills. Communication skills are increased through the use of therapeutic games, structured exercises, and practice situation and responses, role-playing and demonstration by the therapist. Becoming aware of the expressing and conflicting feelings about the offender, including mistrust, ambivalence, and affection, and helping children move ahead with their lives. I just wanted to say that these children get connected with the trafficker because they are given the attention that they were seeking and did not find in their home. So it's sad to see, but it does happen where maybe possibly if we do take on the trafficker and he gets arrested, the child do have an attachment to them and may feel mad and anger because he's being taken away. And we've seen that in a case on Oahu. But with the therapy and the support service, the child victim learned that her situation was not a safe situation, that he was not out for her best interest, and she was later able to move forward. And now is still learning how to build resilience with the support of her therapist. Healing the relationship with a non-abusive parent is an essential component in treatment as it helps a participant develop a positive supportive system. Confronting suicidal inclinations and appropriately identifying and dealing with feeling helps the participant work through those difficult issues to assist in the healing process. So with gratitude, I want to share our aloha and mahalo to the Crime Prevention and Justice Assistance Division, the Department of the Attorney General. All these people are part of this Hope and Healing Support, Ho'olanapua, which translates to the new life for our children. Their mission is the renewal of underage sex trafficked youth through health, education, advocacy, and reintegration. Catholic Charities Hawaii, mission to serve the people of Hawaii without regard to their faith or culture. Child and Family Service, mission is to strengthen families and foster the healthy development of children. And we want to thank the Department of Human Service, Children's Justice Center, and our partners, including the LT, for collaborating with us and making this a difference for their families. So the Hope and Healing program will be a central part to work with families, especially the children who are exploited. And we wanted to also share that our continuous education on exploitation of our youths and our children is going to be a primary focal point of Hope and Healing, to educate the community about signs and symptoms that children may display that will give you a question of, I wonder what is going on with her or him. I wonder if they're feeling safe. And then maybe it could empower you to ask the question, are you safe? Are you okay? That will be a key way for youths to open up and share what is going on with them. And hopefully they can get into support services that can help them with their current situation if they are being trafficked and exploited. So thank you so much for that. I'm wondering if you have any questions, anything in the chat. No, the Hope and Healing program is one of the important programs that I really wanted to highlight because of the importance of saving our youth from being exploited. I also want to stick on that topic about being exploited. In 2018, one of our what's her name, Dominique? Yeah, she did a study, and there was a exploration or on trafficking, exploiters, online buyers of for sex trafficked. And from that study, the sting that they put out, about 70% of the callers for buyers, online buyers for sex trafficking, 70% came from the 808 state. The telephone numbers for those calling in to purchase sex online came from the state of Hawaii. So we know that it's happening, and when you're purchasing sex, you're purchasing children, you're purchasing victims to provide sex for pleasure. And if we can focus on combating sex buyers, then we can help lessen the trafficking of our youths. So these studies are letting us know that it's happening. These studies and data are letting us know that we are in need of support services for our keiki, for our families here on the island. Okay, I want to highlight another program that I have, and this program is called Kahalaiki Ola. Kahalaiki Ola is a new dawning for a new day. And this service is for parents and youth exposed to domestic violence. So we provide education, resources, assessment, and counseling to work towards the safety and well-being of families exposed to domestic violence. The program aims to help parents better understand the impact of domestic violence on their children and themselves. We partner with the parents, the youth, to create opportunities for healing and strengthening the parent-child bond through individual, group, or family sessions. So if there is any family that you think could benefit from this program, this service is free. This service is a self-referral. You do not need to be referred by any organization, and you can call our HELA office at 935-2188. The importance of this program is to help the non-offending parent not only start to develop a bond, but to help to lessen the flow of a generation of abuse. So this is more like a prevention too, as well as supporting the families who is transitioning to away from domestic violence. So this would be for the child and the non-offending parent. So in this program, families are not at risk of domestic violence. They are not in a place where a safety is concerned. This is for families that are really coming out of domestic violence and need more support. So in this program, we do have a lot of assessments for the children. We use ASQ tools as for seeking the developmental level of each child. That way, the parent can see what are the needs of their child and if the child is meeting their goals. Oftentimes in domestic violence, because a parent is on eggshells and just trying to be safe and trying to go through the day by keeping the whole family safe, oftentimes we're not really paying attention to our children. We don't have the time. Maybe depression has set in. Well, once they're out of the domestic violence at risk time position, they're able to, have the time to spend with their child and reconnect. So this program will help this family get to that place of reconnecting. Let's check in to see with each individual, how did the domestic violence impact their psychology? How did the domestic violence impact their development, the child's development? How and where is the parent at this time for herself or himself, are in where this person needs maybe a lot more therapy or needs more focus on how to regroup, and how to set a new structure for the family now they're out of domestic violence. So in this program, Kahalaiki Ola, a new day, a new dawning, we can help provide these families with these necessary steps to increase resiliency, so they can have a better quality of life for their future. So I thank you for allowing me to share all the support services that Child and Family Service has, and we'll continue to meet with families in our community so we can really provide safety and a way of better enhancing the lives of our families. So that's why we're truly here, Child and Family Service, to strengthen families and foster the healthy development of children. That's all I have for now as far as sharing the resources that we have. I'm open to communication, to questions. I'm open to having dialogue. So mahalo, Ray.
Wow, Denby, thank you so much for that. That was a very awesome and interesting presentation on domestic violence here on the island. And I did not realize that it was as big as it was. That's something brand new to me. So thank you so much for sharing that. I did have a couple questions if you have a few minutes.
Sure.
So you talked a lot about the Hope and Healing program.
Yes.
And can you kind of talk about like the services? Are they provided, in office, or do you go out to where people are, or how do people in like rural areas access those programs, and some of the other type of interventions to engage people when they're already, way out there and not close to like Hilo or Kona or wherever.
Right. So right now, just recently, I met with Ashley Kirkowitz several weeks ago, regarding use of the old police station in Pahoa Town, in order that we can have a potential site out in Puna so that we can provide these services there. We want to accommodate families as much as possible, as we know that face-to-face support is a lot effective, right? But we will also do in office if we can. Once we do have utilization of the Pahoa office, then we will be able to be stationed there, meet families there. I believe if we need to go out and look for these families, and meet them where they're at, whether it's at their home, I believe we have the opportunity to do that.
Oh, great. And services are provided on both sides of the island, Hilo and Kona, or?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
thankfully.
Wonderful. Also, before I continue with my questions, I do encourage all of our speakers to chime in and type your questions in the chat. And I believe Denby will be able to see that, and we can keep the discussion going up until a little bit before 2. So for anybody who does have questions, feel free to chime in the chat.
Yeah, the questions that I kind of put out on my thing on the forum, do I know enough about domestic violence? You know, we could provide more support in DV presentations. I know there was a few domestic violence presentations on this forum too as well with the Puna Strong Virtual. Another question, what can I do to stop domestic violence? Well, you know, we don't want to keep DV a secret, right? And if we know it's going on, we need to speak up and whether call child welfare in service, intake service hotline if you know that a family is going through domestic violence and children are involved, you know, make that phone call. Oftentimes families or the victims would want somebody to intervene because they can't call the police while they're in the middle of a fight with their partner. So, you know, bystanders can make that call. They don't have to personally intervene themselves because that can put them at risk, but you can give police a call and say, hey, there's a DV situation going on. Mention the location, you know, can you come and check on the well-being, especially if children is in the presence. The 709-906 Hawaii State Revised Statute of Abuse of a Family Household Member in 2014 included a addendum to include minors under the age of 14 exposed to domestic violence. That's a felony abuse. But this is to prevent further domestic violence or further harm to children as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and then another question I put out was, what does my community need to combat domestic violence? And I think it's all our kuleana to report it. We see it, report it, and offer support. As you saw through my sharing, all the support resources that our agency has. Yeah, so our agency can be called upon to seek out resources for families in need.
Oh, great. Thank you, Dembi. That was a lot of good resources there. My second question is, you know, when we talk about resiliency and particularly disaster resiliency, you know, when folks are in economic constraints and stresses are high, do you guys see a correlation of an increased amount of domestic violence when disaster happens or after the fact? Like, for example, in this time of COVID, where folks have been impacted by losing jobs and furloughs, and folks are trying to work out their housing issues and income issues. Those stressors has to impact family structures in some way.
Yes, and we have seen across the state increase in domestic violence and calls for service. So yes, we have seen it. Our agency is on all islands. And so we collaborated with each other to see, hey, what's going on over there because of the COVID, loss of income. And all islands did see an increase of DV, domestic violence. So, you know, we were there to support those who called in for service, who needed restraining orders or needed just some temporary downtime in one of our shelters, and or to just somebody to talk to.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And then we have a chat, excuse me, a question in the chat.
Okay.
Are there a lot of DV situations involving older adults, i.e. elder abuse?
Well, we had 2 TROs today that came in regarding elders. Yes. So that is going on. And this can be an elder couple, many years of marriage, and it's just a breakdown of the relationship over time. And finally, one person is stepping out to do something about it. We also had another one where a parent goes and live with a child, an older child, and then there's also abuse in that situation. So our agency is there, and you know, to support these families. I see one. What happens when a TRO is in place and the abusive person is not located or found to serve, and family members are aware of and withholding the location of the abuser so hard? Okay, so if the TRO, let me start from the beginning. When a TRO is filed and it is approved, the court sends an electronic approved restraining order to the records at the police department. Police department has to file it online and then shoot that electronic TRO to the substation where the defendant or the perpetrator is located. Then the patrol takes the referral and go and seek out the defendant. There's a 2 weeks window to be served because there's a 2-week time limit for the court hearing. And if the defendant is not served and the petitioner shows up, still wants to continue, the judge can continue the service, meaning the police still have more time to serve the defendant. If he is not found, then sometimes the restraining order could be upheld, meaning the petitioner could be granted the restraining order. Or the judge could decline the restraining order, either way. And then if family members are aware and withholding the location of user, yeah, then it makes it more difficult. So the more information that police would know, the whereabouts of where this perpetrator or the respondent could be, the better that there'll be a chance that he could be served.
Great, thank you. All right, everyone. Is there any other questions for Denby?
Yeah, I'd like to mention that, our services, although some of the services are referred based, we do have opportunities to take in walk-ins. And I would like to say firsthand that these intervention programs are really and can be successful. I've sat on and co-facilitated some of these programs for pattern changing for survivors, for the victims, and the domestic violence intervention for the batterers. And there's 3 phases, 26 weeks, and I can see the development of change through different phases, to where you first phase, you hear the denial, fail to take responsibility. And then over time, by the second phase, you can see the change in how they speak and taking more accountability, to when they shift over to the phase 3, they're in much more control and taking ownership. So I can see that, I know that these services are essential for behavioral change, and it works. And I like to include also that not only males are batterers, but females are batterers too. And we have a female batterer group too as well, that goes on 26 weeks and weekly too. And the same dynamic carries over too. So yeah.
Great. All right, everyone. I don't see any questions on my end here. Denby, do you have any other questions on your side?
No, I don't. And thank you so much for everyone's participation. And thank you for Equality Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you, Denby. And again, for all of you who are watching, thank you for participating. And again, I want to thank you, Denby, for your wonderful presentation and all of the awesome resources. If we could maybe get a copy of that flyer that you had, that we can post on your exhibitor booth, which will give our community a little bit more of resources and contacts, so they know what's out there.
I'll send it to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And everyone, thank you. And then we'll see you at the next session. You guys have a great afternoon.
Mahalo.